אנחנו נלמד עכשיו מתוך שיעור תעש עם הרבש.
Now we will learn from a study of the 10 Sefirot lesson with Rabash. We're going to read from part 5.
אור פנימי, אות מ"ו, דבר המתחיל.
In item 46, inner light, from the male in the vessel of Keter. Before that, we're going to read item 46 in the words of the Ari. Item 46. Afterwards, it returned to being not mati in Keter, and then it is mati in Chokhmah and Bina and Chesed, and then it is not mati in Gvura, mati in Tiferet, and not mati in Netzach, mati in Hod, and not mati in Yesod, as it ascended in Hod. At that time, it turns its anterior and gives light to Malchut, below in her place. And then it is mati in Malchut. Now, the first phases are complete, which is the reality of the expansion. Thus, all 10 lights have reached Malchut. We'll move to the lesson with Rabash.
He's telling us the record of the male, which remains in the Kli of Bina, is called female. The question is asked, why the male that remains in the Kli of Keter is called male? Answer. He explains. And the male that's in the Kli of Keter, even though the Reshimo, the record that is considered lacking light, here this deficiency is related only to its gar, although it's filled with light as far as gvak. What's written here? What is the meaning that it has the record or it doesn't have the record? That it has light, doesn't have light. We learned when it muti in Keter, there's 4 of clothing, so the light of Keter is upon the Kli and controls it. So that it won't be just Chokhmah, but Chasadim. So we learn that also the 3 of coarseness of the female also eliminates on the Chasadim. And the phase 4 of clothing. Hence, we need to see where he says that there's no Chasadim. Also, 3 of coarseness it doesn't have anymore. Clear? What's written here? He says, in the Kli of Keter, there's male and female. The male is 4 of clothing, the female 3 of coarseness. So he says the male is greater because it's 4. The female is smaller because she's 3. If this one is bigger than that one, then how can both of them be in 1 degree? So he explains, of clothing, it doesn't have light, and a female does have light. Hence, both can be in 1 degree. I asked about this. If it doesn't have light, so is it similar to phase 2 of clothing, which is in the vessel of Bina? And then I say that the male is called female, meaning phase 2 of clothing. So we take from here the male, and there it's called female. Why? Because it doesn't have light. And why here in the Keter you're saying that it is called male? You hear the difference in the coarseness, and here it's the same. But he doesn't explain it this way. He doesn't unite between them. This is what I was trying to kind of verbally explain here. He's saying it differently.
Can you explain a line or two?
What's written? When I say there's no light, vak, it has
Vak of Dalet.
Where does it have vak of Dalet from? If I say vak, also in the Rosh, there's no more than vak. If I say there's no clothing in the goof, then also I'm saying that there's none expanding in the goof. These are two matters. What I wanted to say is that it's called vak. From this, it means that if it expands in keter, there's no chasadim. And if it is what is in vak, we should say that its intention is chokhmah upon chasadim. It's a different matter than vak. I want to describe it in a different way. There, we learn about 4 of clothing and 3 of coarseness. So a coupling is made. The 3 of clothing, which was included in... No, the 3 of coarseness was incorporated in phase 4 of clothing. If so, there's no coupling from 4-3. Yes? Whereas in Bina, where we have phase 2 of clothing, where the coupling will be made. It's also not okay. In the Kli of Keter, we learned there was a coupling with 4-3. It took something from the male or not? There was a coupling of 4-3. It took something from the male. In the Kli of Chokhmah, where there's 3-2, it takes something from the male. Now, what did she take? What did the light that come from Chokhmah take? Called Vak of Bina. From the 2 that remains there, did she take something? There was a coupling that was called something? Nothing. Rather, afterwards, the coupling was made in order to beget the hay. But for herself, she didn't take anything. Therefore, the male is called female. That's the simplest way. Again, it's called female. I want to explain it this way. There, he calls the records that remain records of clothing, which is similar to the records of clothing that there is in the vessel of Bina. Why is the vessel of Bina called female? It's nothing is born, only the vak of the male that was born. What was he born from? From who? From the upper one. Whereas we learn the clay of the Kli of coarseness of 4-3 Damil Gimel of Kli of Keter, the Gimel, the 3 she took from the 4. Something, vak, whatever you say. If she took something, the female, the coarseness of 2, that's in the Kli of Chokhmah, she took from phase 3 of clothing something. She took vak, but she took. Whereas she didn't take anything. But the vak of male that was born from the 2 bets of the vessel of Chokhmah, what did she take to the bet of records? Nothing. Therefore, it's called female. If so, what's the meaning or the benefit from her as well? From these 2, by the hay, they give born to the hay for the lower one. Now here we can say in simple ways. I'm going to repeat it again. However, in the male and female of vessels of Binah, the female is greater than the male. This is because the male is the phase of Vak of Binah, and the female is the phase of Gar of Binah. Nevertheless, Achab, for Gar, they are both in one vessel, as the female is from the record and lacks light. The Vak didn't take from Chokhmah anything. What was done? Nothing. Only what? Afterwards. If so, what's the benefit of one Kli? After both give birth to hay, and the light was benefiting from both of them, it would be good. For who? For Zeranpin. Oh. Also, although the male in the vessel of Keter is a record of clothing, considered devoid of light, of the absence of Gar. That absence concerns only its gar. Clothing, it doesn't illuminate in gar, he says. The vak. He says the clothing illuminates in vak. Now it would be simple. Vak does not receive what it had. But the male and female, the male did not receive from the record anything for itself. In the male and the female of the vak, of Zeranpin, there are many discernments. The male, which is the light of Zeranpin, which is the coarseness of phase 1, is emanated by Chokhmah, which is the light of Chesed, in the vessel of Binah. Where he explains, phase 2 of the Kli of Chokhmah was refined to phase 1, and phase 1 gave to the vessel of Binah. Afterwards, it expanded in the Kli of Binah into the vessel of Zeranpin. This is the light of phase 1, which he calls the light of male. Sometimes he calls it the light of Dat. I ask, when we learn the light that was in the Kli of Keter was 3, descends to Chokhmah, it's 2. The light that was in the Kli of Chokhmah 2 descends to Binah, which is 1. Whereas in the Partzuf of Galgalta, that was phase 4 of Keter and descends to Chokhmah, it was Chokhmah, meaning phase 3. It descends to Chokhmah to Binah, it was 2. Whereas here, the order changes. In Keter, there was 3, in Chokhmah 2, and in Binah 1. This 1, which was descending below, it was also diminished to the same measure that there is above, it is below. So when it comes to complete, there was 1. It descends 1, meaning nothing remains above. According to what we learn, the order that remains above, where I say the light of Chesed in the vessel of Binah, so I should say the light of Chesed that is in the Kli of Binah. What descended? The light of Gvura to the Kli of Chesed. Or we just confused, so we don't speak here about this. If I say the light of Gvura in the Kli of Chesed, the light of Tiferet in the Kli of Gvura, the light of Netzach in the Kli of Tiferet, the light of Hod in the Kli of Netzach, the light of Yesod in the Kli of Hod. Do you understand? Hod, the degree is finished. Phase 1, there's no more phase 1, it was done. Where did it begin? In Binah. Therefore, when we need to move from Hod to Yesod, there's no more of phase 1, the 6 discernments here. Therefore, it must be coarseness of root in the Kli of Yesod. And it's already called the Kli of Yesod. So what are you asking about this? They say, no, I can't say that Binah received phase 1, where the son and what it begat is with her. Otherwise, it wouldn't be like that. But at last, when I am saying that it means that phase 1, all of phase 1 gave. On the other hand, we're saying on the contrary. What was lacking? Therefore, why did the Zeranpin in the Kli of Binah? Again, he says the light of Zeranpin in the Kli of Zeranpin. He says these rules. The light of Chesed in the Kli of Chesed must be on the level of Keter. Well, I'm going to start again. In the male and female of the Vak, of Zeranpin, there are many discernments, similar discernments. The male, which is the light of Zeranpin, the phase 1 of coarseness, there's the light of Chasadim there in illumination of Chokhmah. It was emanated by the Chokhmah. And then it descended to the vessel of Binah, which is the light of Chesed, which is there later in the vessel of Binah. Afterward, it expanded this light, the light of Chasadim, in the illumination of Chokhmah, into the vessel of Zeranpin, from the Kli of Chesed. The female, however, of Zeranpin, which descended below, we said female is a consequence of Bina, meaning a hay that was emanated by the zone of Bina. We learned that Bina, that had beforehand, she received phase one from the Kli of Chokhmah. And then she did a coupling upon her two bets, and she became hay, a female. Then the light that comes from the vessel of bet that was refined into bet of two of Chokhmah is called male. And the light that was born from the two hays is called by female. So why is he saying it's called male and it is female? Since it comes from the vessel of Chokhmah, it is called male. The light that comes from Bina is called female. And then later, Bina was refined, and she gave these two lights to Zeranpin. It turns out that Zeranpin has male from the light of phase one, which comes from the vessel of Chokhmah, and it also has the female, which comes from the two bets. It turns out, why is it called female? Because it comes from the two bets of Bina. No more than that.
We're going
to move to two important reports. Please, Chaim. Hello, friends. The content team was addressed and asked for tips, not just for tents that are gathering physically, but they explained that there are also many tents that will be gathering virtually or hybrid, have to tent together physically and have connected on Zoom or Harvut. And they asked for advice how to build a convention if we're not for 3 days physically together. So in a meeting with the North American Kli this week, we simply asked them how they're preparing. Because there too, there are tents that are meeting physically and quite a few tents that are gathering virtually, and received many tips from them actually. They simply shared what they're doing. And we want to share this with everyone. So we will be able to use this so that all the tents around the world will be able to benefit from this. And altogether, as much as possible, share information and ideas. This helps us all, enriches us all, and connects us all. So here are a few points that came up from that meeting on Sunday. First of all, the structure of the virtual Congress is very similar to the physical Congress. Everything we do physically, we do virtually. The anchors are the same anchors, the lessons are the same lessons, and there are meals, and there's gatherings of friends, and there's cultural evenings, and there's a journey or walk, but it's only done in a way that is adapted to the virtual version of it. For example, meals. That's a very challenging thing because we don't just want everyone to sit and eat something and say l'chaim and kind of in front of the camera. However, there's tens that are together all the 3 days who decided about the menu of all the 3 days. Each of them, is going and buying in the same ingredients for the same menu of the 3 days, preparing everyone, each in his home, the same food, and they're all eating together during the meal, the same food that they prepared at home. It's much more challenging than to do it together physically. But really, congratulations to them because it's an act of connection that is truly, this is labor, this is exertion. It's an amazing thing that can be done, that you can do such a thing. Going for a walk, for a journey in nature or something. We connected to Zoom and we go for a walk together, each in their area, but together. They go out together, they come back together, the activities together. We do the activity within this trip together and connected to the Zoom together. An additional point that came up is when we're together physically, on one hand, there's this fun of the physicality of things, and on the other hand, maybe not on the other hand, but it causes the fact that you could more easily keep the intention together and the joy of togetherness. When you do this virtually, the work on the connection is much, you can feel it much more. It's a greater personal effort constantly. And we need to take this into account, and we also need to appreciate this. Because friends who have no choice, but they can only meet and convene virtually, are investing great efforts to keep the intention and the connection during this whole time. Also in organizing and preparing, also just like in the physical meetings, we need to divide into teams. It's recommended to do so, and each team should work either on certain time blocks or certain types of events. Let's say the evening cultural kind of exchange team, Friday afternoon team, gathering of friends team, a meal team. Don't work alone. Don't prepare anything alone, but always share, participate 2-3 friends, and then bring the plan to the 10 and receive authorization for it and permission to perform it, to execute. That's it, actually. So may we all continue together to work. If you have other ideas, send, share, because we all connect from this. L'chaim bnei Baruch. Before the second announcement, before Chaim was talking, I noticed it's in a month that our Congress is coming up. It's very exciting. Another very exciting thing tomorrow, April 30th, we're convening here in the study hall. It'll take on a different clothing here in an event of an experience with meaning. We will feel the light of Zohar between us. Who's this meant for? First of all, for the whole Israeli Kli. Whoever wants to come is invited with joy to come to an evening in which we will both taste flavors that will be prepared for us for the catering of the event, but also we'll taste from the Zohar. We'll taste and read excerpts from the book of Zohar. Danny Weisfeld, our composer and author and singer and guitarist, will be here with the reading of the Zohar, with some songs, with some background. We will talk, we will see clips from Rav about the Zohar. We will be reminded once more about the power that is in this eternal book and answer all kinds of questions. Why specifically the book of Zohar? Why? How is it that after so many years, the book of Zohar is still unique, so unique, and there's nothing that's even competing with its glory and its grandeur and what it has in it? What is it telling us? Why is it relevant to our times? All of that we will experience here together. Oren and I will be the ones who are conducting it, but it's not a regular lesson. It's an evening of meaning, with an experience with meaning. It's very worthwhile to come and bring friends, new friends, bring friends that maybe were with us and kind of distanced a little bit, friends who are in the circles around us, even people who have never been exposed to the wisdom of Kabbalah, as an initial, very deep emotional experience of hearing the light of the book of Zohar and read it with us, these excerpts. We are certain that it will attract them and draw their desire and deepen the desire to be like us in the book of Zohar for eternity. They say that all the secrets are in the Zohar, the secrets. And bottom line is, what interests me is one secret: how to bring my life to a better place. If you know other people that have such a question, invite them. We'll try together to search for the answer. We'll make a field of love so the upper light will be able to fill our soul. L'chaim bnei Baruch.
An
additional announcement: Monday, May 4th at 6 p.m., the Lag BaOmer meal will take place here in the Baruch Center. Everyone is invited from all ages. We'll conclude with a song.
every corner of the world we've been searching, together following the scent that leads to life. To reach heart, there's a door to love, where we find a way to rise above ourselves. It's you that lights our hearts, it's you that shines in us forever. Every broken part, it's you that binds us all together. It's you that lights our hearts forever in a place beyond the veil. Together we rise, together we rise, together we rise. Gonna find a way to go above my reason. Gonna find a way to love outside myself. Through each heart there's a door to love, where we find a way to rise above ourselves. Together we rise, 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 a place beyond the veil. Together we rise, 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 together we rise. It's you that lights our hearts, it's you that shines in us forever. Through every broken part, it's you that binds us all together. It's you that lights our hearts forever